All right, let's talk about a huge turning point in anyone's financial life, saving that first big chunk of money. Today, we're diving into why getting that initial nest egg is by far the hardest part of the journey, and why once you hit it, everything changes. I'm sure you've heard this one before, right? Money goes to money. It's one of those things people say, kind of like it's just a fact of life that the rich get richer. It almost sounds like an excuse, or maybe just an old cliché. But what if it's not just a cliche? What if there's a very real mechanical truth behind that saying? Well, the source material for this explainer says there absolutely is, and it all pivots around one specific number. And that number is $20,000. Now look, there's nothing magical about this exact figure. Think of it more as a symbol, a milestone. It's the point where building wealth stops feeling like an uphill battle and starts feeling like you finally got the wind at your back. So let's break down why. Okay, first up is the psychological side of things. And honestly, this might be the biggest piece of the puzzle. Before you have savings, you're pretty much forced to operate from a place of scarcity, always worried about the next bill, the next paycheck, and that totally changes how you see the world. See, when you're stuck in that scarcity mindset, your brain is basically in survival mode. You make decisions out of fear. You take a job you don't really want, or you stick with a bad situation because you just can't afford to leave. But once you have that cushion, that 20 grand, you unlock the ability to have a growth mindset. You can actually start to plan for the future. You can think about opportunities instead of just worrying about threats. It's a total game changer. And hey, this isn't just some vague feeling. It's backed by actual data. Check this out. Research from Vanguard found that having just $2,000 in savings gives people a massive 21% boost in their sense of financial well-being. Think about that. And if you build that up to a full 3 to 6 month emergency fund, you get another 13% on top of that. That mental security is the foundation for everything else. So once you've got that psychological security locked in, you get to move on to the next, and maybe the most exciting phase. This is where your money finally starts working for you and where you start to feel some real momentum. We're talking about the magic of compound interest. The best way to think about it is like planting a tree. Your initial investment is that first tree, but then the fruit it produces contains seeds, and those seeds grow into more trees. And then those trees grow their own fruit with their own seeds. Before you know it, you have an entire orchard, all from that one little seed. Your returns start earning their own returns. And this is where the math really starts to get fun. Let's say you get a 10% return. That's fantastic. But on $1,000, that's $100. It's nice, but it's not going to change your life. But that exact same 10% return on $20,000, that's $2,000. That's real, meaningful money that you earned just by having money. The principle is the same, but the scale changes everything. You can really see the snowball effect in action here. Let's say you're saving $1,000 a month. That first $20,000 is a real grind, right? It might take you around 19 months. But the second $20,000, that only takes 17 months because your first pile of cash is now helping you save. And then look what happens later on. Once your portfolio hits 400,000, you can make that same 20 grand in just 5 months. The milestones just start flying by. Now this next part, this is what it's really all about. Because the most valuable thing you get from saving your first $20,000 isn't actually the money. It's something you can't even see. It's the asset you build inside yourself. That's right. The 20 grand in your bank account, that's not the prize. That's just the receipt. It's proof that you accomplished something much, much bigger. The real prize is who you had to become to get it. You had to build discipline. You had to learn to say no to things you wanted now for something better later. That's delayed gratification. You proved to yourself beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are in control of your financial destiny. And that proof, that confidence, that is infinitely more valuable than $20,000 because that's what you'll use to build the rest of your life. Okay, so maybe you're sitting there thinking, this all sounds great, but I am nowhere near that. I get it. And that's why the source material lays out a super simple 3-step plan to just get the ball rolling. First, you have to understand your position. You just can't make a plan if you don't know where you're starting. So you've got to track where every dollar is going. Second, automate your progress. This is key. Set up automatic transfers to your savings account the day you get paid. Take willpower out of the equation entirely. And third, earn more. Look, you can only cut your expenses so much, but there's no technical limit to how much you can earn. So ask for that raise. Look for that better job. that's often the fastest way to accelerate this whole process. So we'll leave you with this final thought. Getting to that first 20,000 is the hardest part because you're doing two things at once. You're saving money and you're building a new version of yourself. But once you've done it, once you've proven you can hit that goal, the question isn't if you can do it again. The only question left is, what's next?